Where do you listen to your podcasts? At home or on the go? Subscribe now to Talking Away with Greg Haines on your favourite platform. You'd be doing me a favour if you did. Hello there, this is the Motorbike Racing Show. Welcome along. It's Thursday, the 8th of February 2024. There is so much to get through, as there always is, with news from America, from Britain, from World Superbikes, from MotoGP. And we start then with MotoGP, because everybody's made progress this week at the Sepang test. But it's that proverbial moving goalpost, as always, thanks to the Bologna bullet. Straight in there, 156 lap times at the Sepang International Circuit for the first time ever for Pecco Bagnaia, Jorge Martin, Enea Bastianini and Aleix Marquez. All of them, of course, on Ducati motorcycles, with Marquez in 6th place. Here's the latest from Pecco Bagnaia.
I was a really good lap time. Arrived in the first time attack and was great. I'm happy for the lap time, but honestly, it's just a test, and the condition today was incredible this morning, and this afternoon too have increased again. So I'm very happy. More for the work we did. We finished the schedule of all the things to try, and overall the new bike is working very well. So very happy for the braking, because I think is a big step compared to 23. But we still have some margin on the power delivery and the power on the straight. So we will work, we will continue like this, and we will try to do another step in front in Qatar.
And that's very ominous for everybody else. I'm sure you will agree. If there is still more to come from Ducati. The factory team were trying out a different exhaust. We also saw Martin with the Pramac bike. Remember, that's a GP24 as well. He was back-to-backing that with the GP23. Particularly quick in a sprint simulation was Aleix Marquez. 7 of the 10 laps that he did were quicker than when he won the sprint at Sepang last year. And Marc is his brother on a Ducati, of course, this year, having switched from Honda after breaking the last year of his contract. He's done his first ever simulation of a sprint on a Ducati motorcycle.
In Valencia, it's true that it was a bit easier, but he, as I expect, was harder to understand, especially because the circuit, one of the worst circuits in the calendar for me. For some reason, always has been slow and in this circuit. But apart of that, the progression was good during the weekend. Already yesterday, the pace was not bad. I did the long run, sprint race simulation, 10 laps. Today, the most positive thing is that I was able to understand a bit better how to take profit from the new tire. And on that time attack, I was able to be faster in both tires. So this also was important. Still far from the top guys, because half second is a lot, but not bad. Apart of that, I did another sprint simulation that has been good, but you need to understand the time you did, the time the others did. For example, some riders they did with a lot of track temperature, that means that you are slower. Another riders did at 11:30, 12. Another riders at 5. So yeah. But the most important for me is that the feeling was good.
Those famous words then from motorcycle racers, step by step. We've heard that so many times before, haven't we? Over at Aprilia, it was Maverick Vinales running on a 2023 tail cowling with the bike there, plus a new rear wing at one point over the top of it. Pedro Acosta was 9th for gas. Watch out for him. He actually did a faster sprint simulation, according to MotoGP.com, than Bagnaia did. And on day 2, did a lap that would have put him 5th on the grid for the event there last year. Aleix Espargaro was particularly impressed with Pedro Acosta, the Moto2 world champion.
Pedro's talent is amazing. I mean, since he arrived in the championship, he's doing extraordinary things. It's just his 3rd time here in Sepang, his 2nd time in the MotoGP. Obviously, he's been riding a lot of days. But anyway, when you see him on track, I was riding with him a couple of laps today, and when you see him riding, the lines he's taking,
He's not rookie lines. It's unbelievable how fast he learned. So obviously it's going to be one to watch during the season.
Is so Marquez-esque, isn't it, from what we saw from Marc at the end of 2012 in Moto2 before he went into MotoGP and, of course, famously won the championship on his very first attempt in 2013. That was Aleix Espargaro then. In terms of Aleix himself, he was the only rider to do a sprint simulation on used tyres. As he said, he didn't have any new ones left. He ended that run on a 58.4, and that was almost as good as his qualifying lap last season. That was on Thursday. It was a 3-day Sepang test. It was Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. KTM then, Jack Miller was the quickest of those in 7th place, testing new aero components against older ones. They seem to have elected for a shorter, lower exhaust and a normal top exhaust. That also has come from MotoGP.com. Day 2, Brad Binder used the new exhaust that Miller had used the day before that. Over at Honda, Joan Mir was 1.1 seconds quicker than his qualifying lap last year, but he has insisted on an aerodynamic improvement. Mir, of course, the 2020 world champion. He's partnered with Luca Marini this year, who comes across from VR46 Ducati. Both Mir and Marini using a new Honda swing arm, which they seem to prefer over the other one, which is a Cadex version. Yamaha, Fabio Quartararo quite simply needing extra pace on single laps. Of course, qualifying is so important now with the race format, and particularly with a sprint to contend with as well. He and Alex Rins, his new teammates, have been trying out different tail units on the bike, and they also both ran without the side pods on their Yamahas on day 2. Cal Crutchlow was there as well, the test rider, and ran the old tail unit on both of his bikes. So the question is, what will they do ultimately? The Qatar test is up next, and that's a 2-day test for MotoGP on the 19th and 20th of February. So that's the week after next. But here's the rest of the news. Tributes have streamed in for Gary Taylor, who died on Tuesday last week at the age of 74. He was most famous as the Suzuki team manager and remains the last British team manager in motorcycle Grand Prix racing. He was also instrumental in the careers of many a British motorcycle racer, including Rob McElnay and Neil Mackenzie, as well as Australia's Paul Lewis. Davide Brivio is back in MotoGP as the team principal of the new Trackhouse Racing squad. Trackhouse, of course, already a huge concern in the world of NASCAR in America. Brivio is alongside Wilco Zeelenberg, who's team manager. Davide, of course, having just come back from working with Alpine in Formula One. Jack Miller, well, he's revealed that he broke his scaphoid in a motocross accident before Christmas. Not the only one in the wars. Franco Morbidelli has missed Sepang and the upcoming test in Qatar after being knocked unconscious in what sounded like a really scary accident at Portimao, where he was assisted at the side of the track by the two Marquez brothers. Marc Marquez saying, "Alex and I saw the red flag and we were the first to arrive between turns 8 and 9. And that, incidentally, is that rise over the top of the hill. We saw Franco was unconscious in the runoff area in a strange position with his head facing upwards. We stopped, left our bikes on the ground and ran to Franco. If you're unconscious and facing upwards, it's dangerous because you can't breathe properly. We put him on his side, opened his leathers and opened his helmet. Once the medical staff arrived, we rode back around to the garages." Raul Fernandez also in trouble. He only took part in day 1 at Sepang, had a crash at turn 11. The Trackhouse Racing rider high-sided on only his 4th lap, and apparently the Aprilia then caught fire as well in the aftermath. Elsewhere, the first FIM Medical Summit will take place in Lyon, France next week. That's the 18th of February. It's mandatory for the MotoGP and World Superbike medical officers to attend, and also open to the chief medical officers and promoters of other FIM Championship series. More than 100 participants from all sorts of different disciplines are set to attend. As I'm sure you know by now, the Argentinian Grand Prix has been cancelled due to the ongoing political situation over there. So that's both World Superbikes and MotoGP now that have lost their Argentinian events this year. Marc Marquez and Jorge Martin are threatening Enea Bastianini's factory Ducati ride, apparently. The Beast, that's Bastianini, told Marca in Spain, "There's no point talking about that right now. I hope it will be Enea Bastianini on the bike, but it's too soon to say." Right, World Superbikes. I had a chat with Alvaro Bautista earlier on today for Motorcycle News and a big season preview supplement we have coming up not next week, but the week after that, which of course will be the opening week of the season for the 2024 World Championship. So watch out for that. Alvaro telling me earlier on that he's feeling a lot more comfortable now. He's just started motocross again. Remember, Bautista was injured, neck injury, which really hampered his Sepang MotoGP outing at the end of last season. The injury was in Jerez at the end of November. What else? Well, Go 11 have revealed their yellow livery for Andrea Iannone, which looks spectacular. Tomorrow, Friday, we're expecting the Honda livery to be revealed. I do believe it's going to be very similar to what we saw last year, perhaps with a few added flashes of blue and a little bit less red for 2024. We have already seen today the bright green and white livery for Kawasaki Racing Team. That looks really good. Alex Lowe's and Axel Bassani. Now, I suspect it's a little bit lighter because, of course, they are the Kawasaki colours, and also there's less Monster sponsorship this year at Kawasaki. So I suspect that might be one of the reasons for that one as well. Bradley Ray, he's starting the season with a different crew chief at MotoX Yamaha. It's the technician Vani Lorenzini who's stepping up for at least round one in Australia. Now, he's going to be subbing for Pietro Cassara. He's required recent hospital surgery and treatment, so we wish him all the best. Over in MotoAmerica, Loris Baz has gone back to Warhorse Ducati alongside Josh Herrin. The Frenchman, who of course has been replaced at Bonovo BMW and World Superbikes this year by Scott Redding, was previously in MotoAmerica in 2021. He finished fourth in the championship with 9 podiums from 20 races. And Chaz Davies and Aruba.it Racing are venturing into MotoE with their other bike ridden by Armando Pontoni. That's another rider whose name we know from the World Superbike paddock. So after winning his last factory Ducati World Superbike race in 2020 and retiring from the series at the end of 2021, the Chazster is back. It's MotoE this time, but of course he's 32 times a race winner and 99 times a podium finisher in the World Superbike Championship. Chaz, you're back in action.
Yes, Greg, that's right. We are going racing again, much to my wife's dismay. But anyway, decision's been made. We're off to the races once again, and yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. I've had a bit of time out, and I was careful when I left World Superbike. I was sort of careful to say that this is a retirement from World Superbike because, I acknowledge that I think at that time I was 34, and I knew that sort of my time in World Superbike was coming to an end, and opportunities and what have you. I needed a little bit of a break and a reset, to be honest. But for that reason, I was careful to say I'm retiring from World Superbike. And Scott Redding, actually, he picked up on that in the press conference and said, so you've said World Superbike, what's next? And honestly, I didn't have plans at that time. I was just happy to kind of step away. But since obviously I've dabbled in endurance racing and I've picked up things as they've kind of come to me. And now MotoE is sort of, as a test rider, it came to me, an opportunity which I really enjoyed. I loved riding the bike. There's a lot of people that don't want to hear that. There's a prejudice against electric bikes, and I get that and I understand it. But I'm sort of also would like to kind of educate that at the end of the day, it's a bike. It's got 2 wheels and it's got a throttle on it, and it's so much fun to ride. Yes, it doesn't make a noise, and yes, there are things we're going to miss, but faced with a decision one day, okay, racing no longer exists because governments say it can't exist for environmental reasons. I know which one I'll choose, so why not? Let's go racing, and as I said, it's a really fun bike to ride, so I'm really looking forward to it. Obviously I need to get back into shape and sharpen up, and I've had 2 years of essentially dabbling but not taking things particularly seriously, but it's time to turn things up a little bit and get back to some of the intensity from the past, and get back on the train a little bit, I suppose. And as I said, looking forward to it, and watch this space to see how it goes.
Thank you very much, Chaz. Father of 2, happily married. It's just never enough, is it? He's back on his bikes, and we wish him all the best for 2024. Chaz Davies there in MotoE with the Aruba Ducati squad. Of course, it's all Ducatis nowadays, isn't it, in MotoE? Look out on Instagram as well. Scott Redding's been posting some really good videos, some excellent onboard shots there on his BMW, and he's been sharing the Valencia circuit with a few other riders, including FHO BSB rider Peter Hickman. So have a look at that, because Scotty has been in action, of course. He's under pressure, really, isn't he, this year, with Toprak joining the BMW family. Oh, and that can mean only one thing, can't it? It can mean only that it's our soap opera moment of the week. Now, we didn't have a show last week. It's been a bit of a disrupted schedule at the moment for the motorbike racing show, but we're back on track now, and we're cheating a little bit because this is actually a soap opera moment from last week. But how could it be anything other than VR46 himself, Valentino Rossi, on a Yamaha R1, cropping up at the Portimao test? We had pretty much the whole World Superbike field there, all the Ducati MotoGP riders, and then Mr. Rossi as well, with a bright yellow 46 on the front of his fairing, which ended up meaning that the 44-year-old 9-time world champion was on track with the best of them from World Superbikes and MotoGP. And we even saw those incredible photos of Toprak Razgatlioglu and Valentino Rossi on track together. The mind boggles, doesn't it? There was also a funny moment when Adrian Huertas actually overtook Marc Marquez. Marc was coasting around back to the pits, and Huertas went past him, and you could see him sort of looking across at Marc as he went past on his Supersport Aruba Ducati. So definitely Valentino Rossi's surprise appearance at the Portimao test was our soap opera moment of the week. Right, I said before that I've been chatting with a few people for the MCN season preview. Well, let's get the latest then from my partner in crime in the Eurosport commentary box, Mr. James Toseland, the 2-time World Superbike champion. And I've had to put the very difficult question to people of who is going to be the top 3 in the World Superbike Championship this year, as well as a standout performer. This is what James came up with in 2 minutes and 40 seconds.
You'd like to put Toprak winning the championship as a bit of a story, or first championship for BMW and blah, 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 because there is a chance. But I need to see what the bike's going to perform like tracks like Phillip Island and Catalonia, which are arguably the 2 most difficult tracks for the rear tyre consumption. One at Phillip Island being anti-clockwise on the lefts, and one on Catalonia being on the rights. And they are really tricky. So if the BMW goes well there and looks after its rear tyre at those tracks, then it could be a real title contender, that's for sure. But without seeing them test on those tracks, because your Jerez and your Portimaos, they're not overly difficult, and they are tracks that the BMW has done quite well at in the past. So it might be just kind of complementing the results at the minute, but fingers crossed they are going to be competitive. But because of that, Jonathan Rea, every track he goes to, is going to have to see where the limit of that Yamaha is. And that usually leads to a little bit of inconsistency and a couple of crashes here and there, because he's had so many years on a Kawasaki, and he knows exactly where the limitations are there. And the consistency of the top 3 over the last 3 or 4 years has just been incredible, hasn't it? But I think Jonathan Rea on the Yam, with that lack of data and that lack of muscle memory, you might see a couple of mistakes from him. If the BMW does struggle on the tracks it's always struggled at, then obviously that leaves me to say that, if Bautista can get back to full fitness, Bautista would still be winning the championship for me this season. But it is a little bit tricky with all the unknowns. But if I had to put my money on it, obviously Borlega he's screaming like he could be really competitive as well. But again, there's a lot that he doesn't know this year on a Superbike on these tracks. So you'd have to say the consistency of him again is going to be possibly a race winner in here and there, which would be amazing for him in his first season. And but to win a championship is a different thing. So, long story short, I think it will be Bautista, Jonathan Rea, and Toprak. I think the Jonathan Rea could be switched, as it was for the last couple of years. He could be second in the championship, not third, just because of previous years' performances and consistency of a BMW compared to a Yamaha.
James, thanks very much for that. Well, I've gone, and this was so difficult, I've gone Bautista first, I'm going Toprak second, I'm going Nicolo Bulega third, and I'll say that Danilo Petrucci is the star performer but I must be mad I've not put Jonathan Rea in the top 3. I think I'm going to regret that. Let me know what you think, please, everybody, on social media, Greg Haines TV, and also email talkingawaypodcast@gmail.com. A little bit of news then before we go from British Superbikes. It's now official, as we revealed on this podcast right back in January, that Rory Skinner is joining Taz Racing Team, aka Cheshire Mouldings BMW, with Philip Neal's team celebrating its 25th year. Skinner was Aprilia Super Team champion in 2014, British Talent Cup champion in 2018, and British Supersport champion in 2020. After one full season with American Racing in Moto2, with a best finish of 12th in the Australian Grand Prix at Phillip Island last October, the Scot now returns to BSB, where he had 7 podium finishes across 2021 and 2022 with FS3 Racing Kawasaki. Skinner's 2024 teammate is Davey Todd. Powerside Motorcycle are back. They'll race the new Suzuki GSX 8R in the new Pirelli National Sport Bike Championship with Taylor Morton. Now, you may know the name. Morton finished runner-up in the KTM RC Cup in 2016 behind the champion Aaron Wright. In the R&G British Talent Cup, title-winning outfit Team City Lifting RS Racing, that's the Ryan Saxelby outfits, have announced their lineup. It's Philip Sororiak and Clayton Edmonds. They're both 15 years of age and both entering their 3rd seasons. Sororiak broke his duck with victory last year at Donington Park, while Edmonds had a couple of 10th place finishes last season. And in the sidecar world, there is some news there as well, as Kevin Rousseau has become the new passenger to Ben Birchall. Of course, Tom Birchall has now retired sensationally from the world of sidecar racing, as Barry Nutley explains.
The shock news from the sidecar paddock at the end of the 2023 season was the retirement of Tom Birchall, younger brother of Ben, of course, in the famous Birchall partnership. That left Ben with something of a quandary, and looking for a passenger, he's picked up the very experienced Kevin Rousseau, who's had a couple of seasons with Tim Reeves, so no stranger to top speed, very experienced. A newbie, relative newbie to the TT, having only done once, as I understand it, and they will be defending Ben's record and hoping to increase his number of wins in the Isle of Man TT and, of course, World Championship. So it's a new pairing, Birchall and Rousseau, for 2024. Looking forward to that.
Yeah, me too. Thanks, Baz. That's going to be very interesting indeed. And don't forget, passenger is the official name, but it's basically a co-driver. It is impossible to control a sidecar outfit without the passenger. We've had some very nasty accidents with passengers coming off those outfits in the past. Right, a little bit more news then before we go. This is from America. Rossi Moore has joined Team Hammer in the Twins Cup over in MotoAmerica. The 16-year-old will compete on a Suzuki GSX 8R. That's the same bike that Taylor Morton's going to be running in the Pirelli National Sport Bike Championship in BSB. We mentioned that before. For Rossi Moore, though, the 16-year-old, it's a multi-year contract, apparently, including opportunities to advance into Supersport and beyond. The Hungarian-American rider won the Northern Talent Cup in 2022 with 5 wins and 10 podiums. And well done, Danny Webb, with 4 wins from 4 at the South African Classic TT on a 1996 750 Suzuki. He thanked Team Classic Suzuki and the organisers for the opportunity to visit an awesome country and for some great fun. Okay, we'll be back next Thursday. Remember, the Motorbike Racing Show every Thursday in 2024. Please like and subscribe on social media and Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you like to listen to your podcast. We'll be back there next Thursday, the 15th of February. Thanks for listening. Oh, and by the way, it is Random Acts of Kindness Week next week. So go on, do somebody an unexpected favour. You've got a few days to think about it. See you later. If you'd like to contact the show by email, it's talkingawaypodcast@gmail.com. Social media, Twitter, or X as it now is, and Instagram, Greg Haines TV. The next show, next week on Thursday, the 15th of February.